And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Talking Tales Tuesday. This is our Whip Wednesday, except now we've decided to move it back onto Tuesdays, and this is where we talk all things writing and also try to be productive with writing sprints. Um, so to get started, why don't we all introduce ourselves? Go right I think from my screen. Joharra, would you like to go first?
I'm Joharra. My channel is Secret Books, and I'm a booktuber and author tuber. So I talk about my own books as well, and I talk mostly about fantasy.
I'm Jessica. My booktube channel is Lady Lovestead Reads. I read pretty much everything. And for writing, I'm working on a short story that's a thriller and a cozy mystery novel.
Nice. I'm Leane at Dark Roots Creations. My channel is about all things bookish, and I'm just getting back into writing, so I'm not sure where I'm at with that just yet.
And I'm Tiffany. I've been a little bit MIA. I've been really busy, but I also have been struggling to read. But I finally read a book and it's been over a month since I read, so I'm glad I was able to do that. And yeah, I haven't written much, if at all. I'll see what I do during our sprints. If I try to read more, if I write, I'll see what happens.
Awesome. And I'm Robin, if you don't know that yet. I'm a science fiction writer and book reviewer. Do we all want to go and introduce what we're working on today? I know some of you've mentioned what you have worked on, but as far as the project specifically you're going to try to do today. We'll start with Joharra again.
I'm working on my third book in my series, and I've made pretty good progress recently. So,
Nice.
Cool. I don't really know what I'm going to work on. I am kind of foggy-headed today, so I might end up reading for a while. If I feel up to it, I might continue working on the thriller story that I'm writing.
Again, I don't know where I'm starting at, but I have a first introduction of a group of people. I think I'm going to just continue on with that.
Nice. Tiffany, did we lose you?
No,
Oh, okay.
I said, I just haven't really had anything, so I kind of can't really participate because I'm not really there's nothing, no ideas that are that's it, that's what I'll write about. So, but I'm not sure yet.
Brainstorming is part of the process, so we got people all in the different stages. I'm editing my manuscript right now, so we got Joharra writing her book, Jessica possibly writing more on her short story, Leane, I know you did a lot of outlining, just starting, and Tiffany is in the brainstorming stage.
Yeah, I just have so many stories that I don't know which one to pick. None are screaming at me, so I'm I don't know.
I definitely feel that I have so many series planned, and I just basically do whichever one I'm most anticipated for next. That's the one I'm going to work on.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat what everyone's working on. You don't have to be writing today. You can just read as well as Jessica is, or work on whatever you need to. As long as you're being productive during our sprint and doing something.
I see Cozy's here. Cozy, what I'll be reading is Natural Thorn Killer, our buddy read that we're doing. I've got 3 days to finish it. So, yeah. So it'll still be productive because I am doing a buddy read that I need to read for. Kind of pushed it to the last minute.
How far are you, Robin, in the editing process? Or are you just getting started on that?
I've been kind of stuck in the middle of the book lately. I've really just like lost momentum on editing it because I had to do like a full rewrite on the chapter, and it's just been like molasses, like trying to get through it. And I've mentioned it before, but like this is the longest project I've ever edited. I usually work with like a couple thousand word stories, and this is 100,000, so it's a lot bigger. So yeah, I've been learning as I go.
The genre that you're writing in too, like a space opera, there's so much to keep track of. It's not like a thriller where you just need like the main thread of the plot and some characters, right? Like a space opera, you've got to know all the systems and all the characters along with your plot and like your language even that you're using. Like there's so much intricacies in that it's just, I'm so amazed at people who can actually do that.
I definitely have a doc specific for just writing down any sort of world building that I have, so I can go back and reference it and make sure it's consistent. But that's part of the reason why I don't really want to do a series, is because the more books you have to do in the series, the more you have to keep together. So I'm like, I can't do that. That's too much.
Yeah, I feel that. I only write series, and it can be a lot to keep track of.
Do you like have a document as well for your world building, or how do you keep track of your world building, Joharra?
I have everything kind of written down on my phone so that I remember things that I've already done that's important, or things that I want to do so I don't forget them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them all like together.
Yeah, it's a good idea to keep track of it somehow like that, whether it's on your phone or in a notebook. Oh, we lost Tiffany again.
She's in her new spot, though. Maybe her Wi-Fi is a little...
Yeah, she's been coming in and out, so it has to be her Wi-Fi. There she is.
Yeah, sorry guys, getting the new stuff set up. I just keep on disappearing. I'm trying to be here.
It's fine.
I see Tiffany's here now. Nancy.
Tiffany, Nancy, and Ro, we got in the audience. Oh wait, she did actually answer. She is going to be working on her journaling and her TBR to be read, written, and clean in my room.
That's super productive.
Yeah, that's a lot. So good luck. And she is on page 50 of Natural Thorn Killer. How far are you in the book so far, Jessica?
I made it to page 70 yesterday, so now I don't feel so bad. We just had a goal of getting it done by the 15th, so I felt like I was falling behind.
I get you, yeah.
So did you guys get much writing done today? Or is this going to be your first time writing today?
This is going to be my first time sitting down to write today. I've been busy with everything else up until now. How about everyone else?
I've already done... Oh, go ahead, Joharra.
Sorry. I've been writing for the past hour or two. I went to my dad's to see him because he got into a pretty bad car accident. And then when I got back, I hopped on my laptop and started writing.
Is your dad doing okay?
Yeah, his mom is in worse condition. She has like broken ribs and her back was all messed up. She had surgery for her back the other day, and she has to have surgery for her ribs, I think. My dad has to have surgery for his shoulder, and he has to have his arm in a sling, and it's his right arm too, his dominant arm. So he's having trouble doing a lot of things.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've done some writing today. It's all been nonfiction though for work, so nothing creative.
Yeah, same. I was working all day, so now it's get to the creative side of things.
How about you, Tiffany?
Yeah, like I said, it's just been so much going on. Like,
Yeah.
you know, before I moved, I was working a lot, and now I'm going through moving and everything and like unpacking now. Like, it was so hard, even though like we only moved like 30 minutes away. It was so hard. There's so much stuff we had to do, and packing and unpacking. And, you know, we've been here for like over 5, 6 days, and it's like some parts have good progress, and other parts I'm like, oh, when it will it ever end? Like, when will we have things set up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been a lot. So I just really haven't had the time to like write or anything. So
That's understandable, yeah. Jessica and Leanne, I know you said that you do a lot of nonfiction writing. Do you prefer nonfiction writing? Is it like a relief to be able to do creative writing after working so much on nonfiction stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of what my job right now is creating listings for Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, and I do work in a like an artistic creative field anyway, so there is some but I've been in this field for so many years that it's just like it's not that fun anymore. So
Yeah.
it's just like the details of it, and so yes, this is what I'm looking forward to writing now.
Yeah. How about you, Jessica?
Yeah, it's a good outlet to move back into creative writing. The nonfiction that I write, I always feel so much pressure around it just because I work in higher ed. And so like research produced in higher ed is very like competitive, and they'll really rip it apart if it's not done well. So and you're always kind of under pressure to constantly be getting stuff out there, and it just, I enjoy it, but it feels like a lot of pressure. So the creative stuff is like the pressure valve. It releases that pent up like that pressure from it all, and I get to be creative. And like, not that I don't enjoy the nonfiction stuff, but the creativity just is very relaxing, and it's a stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I guess a good question to start to hopefully help Tiffany out is how do you guys come up with your ideas, and how do you first form that initial idea for your stories, and you can use examples for your current projects too. We'll start with Joharra because I'm really curious how she starts with a seed for a whole series.
It's funny because I usually I think I'm in my head a lot, and these random scenes just tend to play out like a movie, like when you're reading, just random scenes. But instead of scenes from a book just playing out in your head, I just get a random scene with random characters play in my head all of a sudden, and then I decide, and then I kind of surround the story around that one scene that I first think of. Like for my Jasmine Perez series, the scene that I originally thought of doesn't even happen until book 2, but I managed to just put this entire series around that one scene.
Nice.
That's cool.
What about
That
you,
is
Jessica?
cool. A lot of it comes from drawing on my own experience. And like inspiration from things that I've read before. Like I get a lot of inspiration on like tone and character development from the books that I actually read, and pacing. Yeah, and then a lot of it is just dramatizing things that I've experienced in my life. And then I'm one of those people who ruminates on conversations a lot. And so for dialogue, a lot of times it's just conversations that I've imagined myself having with someone. So yeah, I also like, I'm not a big socializer, but before COVID, when we would go out places, listening to other people tell their stories of different things that they've experienced, and like kind of adding that into my box of ideas as well. Not that I would like write their exact story, but spin from there some of the ideas. So I also draw a lot of ideas from nonfiction. So I'll read a work of nonfiction and like think about, I wonder how that would play out in such and such thriller, like a story about a corrupt organization or something like that. Like how would those inner workings work if I were to fictionalize that? And that's kind of how I develop my ideas, I guess.
Yeah, I think for myself, for this particular story that I'm working on, it was just like a culmination of all these like different ideas of things I've watched or I've read. And I'm like, let me just take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And like, oh, well, what if this happened? Or I like this. So let me mix these together and just, so it's like a bunch of different ideas. So it's never really like one copying one idea I've seen. It's just taking pieces of ideas of things.
What about you, Robin?
I definitely agree with Jessica with like the nonfiction thing. I do often like to either watch like documentaries or pick up a nonfiction book and just be inspired by real life, because especially as a science fiction writer, I think so much of science fiction is a reaction to reality. So that's been a huge influence on my stuff, as well as I think it was Leanne said other works inspire you. Like, yeah, it really is just like stitching together a whole bunch of like, okay, I like this and this and this, and just stitching it all together into my own piece. So that's why I try to read a lot too, because I do find reading books helps me come up with ideas for writing.
I just read the book One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and that book is like the template for it is the Breakfast Club, basically. So it's like kids in detention, and then there's a murder thrown in. And the story is like the Breakfast Club meets Gossip Girl meets 13 Reasons Why meets Pretty Little Liars. And so, Lee, when you were talking about how like you take this and this and this and this from the things you like that's what made me think about. It's like if you could mash up all the things that you like about different series, and then like this is the product of that.
And like the great part about that is like, I'm sure the author who wrote that, like all the different things you just said, she picked out things that I'm sure those titles you just said, I would pick out totally different things. You'd pick out things like we each have our own things we would like to bring to a story. So that's what I mean by saying you're taking the same idea, but you're not really copying it, because everybody has their own spin on what that one thing would be. Even just one character from one show or one book, we all think of it based on our own life experiences or what we would want things to be. So you really can make it into anything different.
Yeah, I think with fiction writing, sometimes there's a lot of overlap in the music industry. Because like in the music industry, they'll do a remix of a song, or they'll do a cover of a song and change it just slightly, or they'll use just one bar from a really popular song and put it into their work. And it's like writing is kind of that same way.
That's a great point. It really is, yeah.
Yeah, I love that you make that connection, because it's so true.
And that even goes back to like I can't think of the name of the song right now, but like I'll be like, oh, I like the remix of that better, or I like this band did it better. And it could even be like a classic song, let's just say Frank Sinatra, and like I don't know who, Metallica puts their like heavy metal spin on it, and somebody else could be very like opera and put like this operatic type of thing on it, and it's such different types, but it's still the same song, same lyrics, just done totally different.
Right. Like, what if we put Pretty Little Liars in space? Like, what would that be like? It's the same kind of thing.
The heck out of that.
Absolutely.
That's what you could do for your idea, Tiffany. Just like take two very different concepts and smash them together and see what comes of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's kind of my problem. Like, I have so many ideas that happen. Like, it really has to be where, for me, it's usually like a light bulb. Like, I finally have an epiphany and I'm like, I have an idea, and boom, boom, boom. You know, I write whatever, and then like it's like such a sprint. I go fast, and then I'm done. Like it's
Mhm.
like then I never touch that thing again, and then I go back to it. I reread it. I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. And then it's like, where's the rest of it? Oh, right, I stopped.
Yeah.
But I hope somehow I can like improve my writing. That way I can like do it more so I could write a book, but I'll see what happens there.
It does take some discipline, which I am not one to talk, as I have not made any progress since we last met. But yeah, you do have to kind of force yourself to sit down and write and get as much done as you can in one go. It's not always fun, unfortunately.
How did you do that, Joharra? Just sit down and like bang out like 2.5 books already?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy, but I just sometimes I would sit down and not even write anything for a little bit, just kind of figure out where I want the story to go, you know? I mean, there's several things that I've already planned to happen. Like, there's things I knew that was going to happen before I even started the first book, but then other things would happen. Other things would happen, and it kind of would take the story to a different path, and, you know, you can never really predict everything that happens.
Joharra, how do you make writing a habit? Like, how do you build it into your schedule?
Well, I love writing, and I just like to do it every day. And if I get really busy and I can't, then, you know, it won't kill me to not write for one day. But I know whenever I start working again, I'll just work around my working schedule, because the job I might be getting is a like 7 to 3:30 kind of position, so I just know I can do it after then, like, so squeeze it in afterwards. Even a couple hours a day, you know.
Yeah.
A little progress is still progress.
I like that you're also forgiving of yourself if you don't write a day. I think that is so important, not to just like punish yourself when you're trying to build a habit like that. It doesn't help to just be angry at yourself.
Yeah, true. And, you know, life happens too. You know, things get in the way, and sometimes you might have an emergency, or maybe you're sick. I know there was a couple days recently that I wasn't feeling well, and I just was laying in my bed not doing much, and I was like, you know what? It's okay if I don't write just a couple of days, because I need to feel better, or my writing won't be any good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just remind yourself of stuff like that.
Yeah, I think my problem is I give myself too much leniency instead of being stricter with myself to like, all right, make a schedule, get this done, sit down.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance in the discipline, like I said, but also, yeah, don't hurt yourself over it either. But yeah, I usually, try to set like an hour at least a day to sit down and write. I know, again, I'm being a little bit hypocritical because I haven't been doing that lately, but that is how I have gotten progress in the past. And sometimes I would get on a roll and I would write longer than an hour, but if not, then at least I got a little more progress on it. So, yeah.
Definitely.
True.
Let's say hello to Gemma. Thanks for joining us, and let us know what you're working on today.
The cat is so cute, that picture.
That's what I was about to say. It's so adorable.
All right. Do you want to do a sprint at 6:30?
Sure.
How long do you think you want to go for? You feeling 20 minutes or longer or shorter?
Whatever works for you.
That's okay. We'll do 20 minutes then. So we'll start at 6:30 and go to 6:50. I think that's math.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right.
Let's see. Gemma is working on an urban fantasy POV, which I personally really like urban fantasy. Multiple POV. They correct themselves. And Joharra here is our resident fantasy author.
Mm-hmm. Debut novel, nice.
Yeah, Gemma, if you want to tell us more about your novel, please feel free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know about your process and all that. Do you outline? That's always a important question, I think, because not everyone outlines. Do you outline, Tiffany? I'm not familiar enough with your work. I don't either.
Like, I did it once. You know, there actually was a time, so I did one outline. I loved it. Like, I'm really good. I can write a great synopsis. Like, I'm really good at writing those. But then I have such high expectations, and like, I really want to be amazed, impressed, that sort of thing. And that happens all the time when I watch movies, when I read books. That's kind of why I'm a uh, such a harsh critic, that sort of thing. Like, I'm really expecting a lot. And then when I start writing, like, sometimes I'm really impressed with what I write. But there was the book when I was doing the outline, I was like, oh, this book is going to be amazing. And then I start writing it, and I'm like, no, I don't like where this story is going, even though I'm making it. So, like, and it's the first draft. So maybe I won't use this. But, like, I really had to chill because I was like, nope, I don't like it. So
I feel like that's
it's only
such a
once.
relatable thing to like be writing and be like, oh man, this sucks. But like you gotta like reflect that it is the first draft and your first
Yeah.
draft is gonna be the worst draft. And that's what editors are for too. They help you make it your best.
Does anybody have this experience? Well, you're writing and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's my best work ever. And then you come back to it 2 days later and you're like, this is terrible. What was I thinking?
I do that too, and then I'm like, really? No, who wrote this? Because I didn't write this.
That actually sometimes happens, but in the opposite way. Like, sometimes I'm really critical while I'm writing it, and then I want to fix everything, and then it's like, no, I know how it works. You're not supposed to do that. And so sometimes when I come back to something, I'm like, I have no recollection to writing this, or I remember a basic concept, but I don't remember actually writing it. And I'm like, wait, this is great. I like this. And it's like, why can't I just have the same opinion all the way around, where it's just like, okay, this is decent enough, I like it. Like, why do I have to be so harsh and then stop myself from writing?
Well, I think everyone's like their own worst critic.
Yeah.
And yeah, because even if you're saying that this book is terrible, usually it's not. Usually there's some people somewhere in the world that will like it, because there's so many people with so many different tastes. So there's a good chance that you'll find at least one person that liked your book, even if you end up not liking it.
Oh, absolutely. Have you I don't know if any of you guys have seen or heard of Thomas Sanders, but sometimes he makes little short videos. And so there was this one time where he had it where it's like, it was a piece of paper, and so his brain was like, oh, here's this great idea, and so gives it to him, and then it's a crumpled ball, and it's it's considered to be, oh, that's awful. But then another person is like, this is great. And it's like, see, that worked out. Like,
Yep.
We may think it's bad, but it's actually still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I just noticed that Gemma is Leaf from Twitter. She was responding to. That's why I was like, before I was like, oh, I know.
I'm just happy to have someone new here.
Yeah, she was on Twitter when we were giving out our channels and everything, that she joined like the writing thing.
So it is 6:31, so we're gonna do our first sprint till 6:50, and we'll check in with each other again. So good luck with everyone. Happy writing or reading or whatever you do.
In your room.
That's good.
Okay, that is 20 minutes. We got everyone back. Welcome back, everyone. How did your sprints go?
Good. I struggled a little bit at first to figure out because I had before we got on here, I finished up a scene and I struggled a little bit to figure out what the next scene's gonna be. But I figured it out and got on a little bit of a roll before we came back.
Good. How about you,
Awesome.
Jessica? What did you accomplish?
Good. I ended up reading, and I got about 15 pages read, so pretty good.
Nice. Very good. Leanne?
Nice. Things are moving along really well for me, actually. I thought I was just going to start to go in one direction, and it just started flowing in another, and I'm happy with how it's going.
Nice. That's awesome. How about you, Tiffany? What'd you get up to?
Well, I was looking at the documents that I had, because right now I don't have my computer, that's PAX, but I have my phone, so I was trying to find documents that I have that I have something written. So I found one. I remember I got really stuck because I wrote the really interesting parts, and then I got to the beginning, the meeting part, and I remember I got stuck there. So I was just trying to I was able to write a couple sentences, but I haven't really gotten to the book. But I might have to just skip past that part and get into the more interesting parts, because obviously it seems to be where I am right now is a little hard to write. So, but so far so good. At least I have something written down.
Yeah, that sounds like you got something done, which is great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit done, but I kind of hit another snag, so it's gonna be painful to go through this whole chapter, I think.
Is this the same chapter you've been working on?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you feel about just skipping to maybe the next section and then coming back to that one?
I did that for a little bit, but then I hit a snag on the next section too.
Oh,
So it's like I can keep doing that, but then I'm gonna have too many chapters half finished. So I'm trying to go back and get it done.
Like you said, this is the discipline part, so.
I know, yeah. It's definitely the not fun part right now.
So what do you do when you hit a snag? How do you typically work through that?
Good question. I'm trying to figure that out right now. In the past, just kind of I'll try to talk it out with, beta readers and, kind of let them know, this is what's going on. This is some potential ways I can take it. And usually it's not even the feedback I get back that is most useful. It's just the fact of talking it out, and usually something will click. So that's helped in the past. Yeah. Does anyone else have ideas of how to deal with a snag?
I usually read. When I find that I get stuck and I can't write, then I go to read. And sometimes just giving my brain a break away from it helps.
I have been reading a lot, so I don't know if that's gonna help me this time, but that has helped in the past too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just helpful to take a break, even just for a few minutes. Relax your brain. I know some people say that taking a shower or a bath helps them relax, or just cooking something to eat. Anything to kind of get away from the story, even just for a few minutes, could be helpful.
Nice, yeah.
It's true.
How does everyone feel about research for certain parts of their book? That's my least favorite part about writing. I hate research.
That's a good question. I love and hate research. I think it can be really fun when it's like supplements my idea, and like I might get like a piece of information that like, oh, like this is even better than what I would have come up with on my own.
True.
But then other points when it's like, oh no, this wouldn't work at all. That's when it sucks and I have to rework everything.
Well, I just like to write, so whenever something gets in the way of my writing, I'm like, crap.
I think, like, with my background in writing nonfiction, research for fiction is a lot more fun, because if I come across something in my research when I'm researching fiction, I always know in the back of my head, like, it's still fiction. I can still just do whatever I want, you know? So I like it. I think it's fun.
So Jessica, in your opinion, because you do research in fiction, do you think everyone should do some research when they're doing fiction, or do you think it just depends on if you want to or not?
I think it depends on what they're writing about, and who their target audience is, because certain audiences are going to demand like more accurate portrayals of specific things. And I think research is especially important if you're writing about characters whose background is different from you. Like if I were to write a male gay character, like that's a very different person than I am. So I'd want to make sure that I represent that sensitively. And then, you know, research in that case, I think is definitely necessary. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I had to do research at the beginning of my book I'm currently working on, because my main character is going through like PTSD and anxiety and stuff, and I've never dealt with PTSD or anything, so I did some research to try to make it accurate. I had to do research earlier today because I was trying to my main character Jasmine is looking up potions to make, and I'm usually really good when it comes to magical things, but my mind just completely went blank and I couldn't come up with any examples, so I had to look up some.
That's really cool. What kind of potion was she making?
Well, right now she's just looking at certain potions that could help them, because a couple of the people like and her team doesn't have magic, and maybe this could be helpful. I know she was looking at fire resistance, which could be helpful in case, you know, any of them caught on fire.
Yeah. And what do you use for like resources for magic and potions and stuff like that, since you're a fantasy writer?
Just whatever I find. I go on Google first, and I just try to be specific on what I'm looking for, and then whatever I find, if I think it will work, then I'll add it, and if not, then I'll just move on until I find something that will work.
Nice. That's cool.
I think that still goes back to the point too, is like you could do your research, you could get some ideas from it, but you could still go with whatever you want to do.
Yeah. True. Because it's fantasy, you know?
Yep. Yeah, I like the research part because I like the world building part. I like researching all of that stuff. It's the actual writing part that I'm like, can't someone else do this part?
I love the writing parts. I'm probably one of the very few authors or writers or whatever that actually loves the writing part. Everyone always complains about the actual writing part, but here I am just loving it.
I like the writing part too. I feel like that's like when I find my groove and really enjoy the process, like the outlining and the world building, and like that for me feels like hard work and kind of tedious sometimes, but the actual, like once I have the outline and all I have to do is sit down and write, like that's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to that point.
Yeah, I like writing when it goes well. Other than that, it's like... No,
Have any of you ever considered co-writing with someone? Like if you really like the writing part, but not so much the structure part, like would you ever co-write with someone and have them do that part and then you do the actual writing part?
I don't think so, because I kind of like having it, like, I have to have everything kind of my way when it comes to writing. I have to have my characters, my world built, my world and stuff, and I don't think I could write with someone else. I mean, I admire people who can do that. I know this one book that I fell in love with the authors of it are on Twitter, and their co-authors, they are sister-in-laws, and I am in awe that they could actually work together to do that. And I can't.
I've tried to do that with my husband because my husband writes comics, and we've tried to we've had good ideas together, but for the sake of our marriage and liking each other, we've decided that's not a good idea. I would love it though, because he loves the writing part and I love the world building part, and we can come up with an idea together, but I don't know what happens in between. That it just doesn't work for us. So.
I feel like collabs can be really hard, so learning how to collab would be a challenge in its own. I think the only way I could do a collab story like that is, and I've seen other authors do it, where it's okay, this author writes every other chapter, and they write their character and I write a different character, and it just alternates. That's the only way I think I could actually do it. I don't know how I would manage doing a full collab otherwise. It would definitely be a challenge, but
I think that has to be super planned out too for something like that.
Right, yeah. Who asked that originally? Jessica?
Yeah.
How about you?
I've never done it, but I'd be curious to try it out. And, I think you would have to be willing to work with someone that you knew and trusted pretty well for it to work out too. So there's no well, I want credit for this or I want credit for that kind of silliness going on. But yeah, I'd love to try it sometime if I find the right co-author to work with. I think it'd be interesting.
You also have to make sure you find the right match, because maybe you guys can't work together or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of happened with my husband and his partner, his partner was doing his own book this time, where it's normally been he draws, my husband writes, and he was doing his own, but he just wrote out ideas in this long, repeated himself a lot, this whole thing. So when it actually went into the book, my husband cleaned up everything for him. And then his only credit for that was editing. And he's kind of feel like I wrote the whole thing for you. I didn't really just edit it, but
Yeah.
He's laid back in that way that he's whatever. But I'm
I mean, for that, you'd have to be hey, how do you want to be credited? Not just assume. Communication, I think, is so important when collaborating with someone like that, so you don't make a stupid mistake like that can be really offensive to the other person. But
yeah, that was definitely something I saw, that he was he would basically write it out, put the bubbles, do all that, then here, what are you thinking? He's well, no, I was thinking this. He's well, then why didn't you write that? It was very his vague idea that you now need to be specific. So I don't know. I think I saw some lessons through watching them in that process. But I mean, I think that's a little bit different. Not saying comics aren't real books. I absolutely think they are, but just a different format, because you're just writing in bubbles and you're showing it more through the pictures. So one person might think that their pictures mean more, while the writer person is, well, the words mean just as much. So
absolutely, yeah.
So we're getting a storm that's starting to move through my area, and I don't like to be on my computer when there's lightning out. So sadly, I'm probably going to have to head out for the night.
That's okay, Jessica. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for hosting. Have a great rest of the night.
Anything coming up on your channel you want to tell us about before you leave?
No, I'm doing a tag that's coming up that sounds really interesting. It's called the cancel culture tag.
That's
so that'll be.
I love that. That is.
Yeah, you've seen that one.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting tag. So be on the lookout for me tagging some of you.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, that's about it though. All right, I'm gonna head out before I get electrocuted.
Okay. Bye, Jessica. Take care.
But I actually do. I have to help my family with unpacking. But I'm so glad I was able to see you guys. Hopefully, maybe I'll see you guys on Friday for reading sprints. We'll see what happens. It's just been so busy. I'm sorry I have been like MIA for over a month and a half, pretty much.
You're
But
fine.
I mean, I tried. I've been trying. So
That's okay. You gotta do you. So.
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely. But it was great seeing you guys.
You
I have
too.
no idea when I will edit and everything. Like I said, like I have to get my desk set up, my monitor, my computer. Like who knows when everything's gonna go down. I hope soon I can make something and put out some content, but I look forward to that. But I'll definitely be seeing you guys soon, and it was great seeing you guys. All right,
You too.
Good seeing you.
Yeah.
bye.
Take care, Tiffany.
And then there were 3.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Great minds think alike.
I see Cozy said enjoy the rain. She's in California where it's been so dry forever.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
just jealous of anybody who has any rain at all.
I have spare rain where I'm at, so I'll send you
Right.
some. It's
It
been
was
raining pretty much
earlier.
every day.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. It's been sprinkling earlier. I don't know if it ever actually ended up raining after I went inside when I got home, but I know it was sprinkling.
Yeah, here too.
We'll send you some rain, bro.
all the rain you want.
So I'm wondering, what do you guys like writing more? Do you guys like creating the characters or the characters like backstories that form them into the characters that you create?
I feel like most of my characters started off with their backgrounds before they had their personalities, and a lot of their personality comes from their background. So I think that's just the natural order for me. I'm trying to think of an example for you guys. But I got my main character Mina, who has been through a lot of trauma, and she is also a hacker by profession, and so she's a very suspicious person. She kind of expects the worst from everyone, as well as she is always looking for like an exit and looking for security cameras, and that's all influenced by both her background and what she does. So, yeah.
It's funny, as soon as you said that, the person that popped into my head was the chick from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, that's just who popped in my head.
Yeah, oh damn, I didn't mean for that connection,
No,
but it kind of is the same way.
Yeah, just I like that.
How about you, Leanne?
I like the background too, because to me that's part of the world building of things. You know, like why are they here or what's happening, and then it's just trying to move that forward is my problem. Yeah.
I like the creating the characters because I'm kind of like, people always debate about plots versus characters, and I'm kind of both, but I feel like the characters do have a big point in my stories, and so one of the first things I think of before I really fully form the plot is the characters, at least the main characters that you get introduced at first, and I get them all settled, and then I kind of form their backstory as I go.
Okay.
Because I have to try to figure out like how to put in their backstory and when will be the right time and stuff. So
now, do you both of you, when you're making your characters, do you go for like what they look like first, or a particular personality trait, or what starts the character, or maybe like in somebody like, oh, you just pictured the scene in your head and then you kind of go from there with what the person is? How do you go about it?
Well, I think it depends on the character for me. Like I said, a lot of times I kind of form a scene first. And so when I form that scene, I have to kind of figure out their appearances. But then there's other times whenever I'm writing and let's say I just created this character in this one moment, then I'll create their personality first and how I want this character to be portrayed before I come up with how they're gonna look.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends on the scene and situation.
I know for my book, I kind of started it with I have these certain roles that need to be filled. So kind of having like a general, like, what role this character would fill. Like I have a medic character, I've got the hacker character, the engineer, the bruiser character. And I kind of went from that brief definition to, okay, then like, how would this like impact their personality? How would this like impact their appearance, and kind of go from there. So kind of building it from the ground up, almost with my characters. Names was like the last thing I pretty much decided on for any of my characters. And naming is really painful for me too.
I feel that. A lot of times I have to look up names online because I'm like, I have no idea.
Every time I have to research names because I'll just get too finicky about it, where it's like I need a name that really fits this character and it needs to have this feel to it, or it has to have a meaning somehow tied to this. So
I definitely agree. Once in a while I can actually come up with a character's name without looking it up. Like in my next story, which I've already kind of know what it's going to be about. I know the characters. I already have it pretty much figured out, even though I haven't started it yet. But one of the that book's going to have two main characters instead of just one. And one of them, I don't even know how I came up with her name, but I decided her name was going to be Ruby Amethyst.
Okay.
And I got an idea.
Really
I have no idea how I came up with it either.
It's funny that you just said Ruby Amethyst, because in the story that I'm working on, the girl is on a pirate ship, and the pirate ship is called Blood Ruby.
Nice. I like that. That's a good pirate ship name.
Yeah.
What about you, Leanne? How do you build your characters?
As I was like listening to you guys talking, I was just thinking, like, for you, if you were talking about like a difference, well, first of all, like just naming based on like what they do. So if you were I don't know, if you're like like a hacker type of person, I feel like you'd almost have like a shorter type of name, where if you were this, I don't know, a princess, you could have this like Cassandra or whatever type of longer flowy name, where if you're maybe like an engineer or something, you like, to me, I think an engineer, I think you have like a very basic name. I don't know, Frank or George or Melissa. I don't know why those names just popped in my head. Like a very like, I don't know, name, where maybe like the bruiser character would have more of like maybe a nickname type of character name over something. So maybe sometimes that influences like what I pick.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like to go into their background, and their background maybe describes how they look, as far as like, are they more Mediterranean and olive skin? Are they Viking and very pale, or something like that? And then maybe that plays into it too. And then I guess I also think that like, if I already have like a purpose for the character, what they're going to be, that kind of influences all of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would think like in the character, like you were just saying about like a hacker, somebody who's always looking over their shoulder, I instantly think, well, they have shorter hair because they can't waste their time worrying about something like their hair if they're always on the run and they have to be like looking. I'm thinking for myself, well, that would mean you have to have hair products and you're going to have to be worried about this stuff. Or if you have to be on the run and you just have to like throw your shit in a bag and go, you don't have time for that. So like, I think some of those type of things would play into it a little bit.
I love that you say that, because my hacker character doesn't have hair at all.
It's something I would think about, like where if you're a princess, you're not going to have short hair because you have all the time. You have your ladies in waiting to do your hair for you. So to me, that just plays into it, type of thing. And maybe those are very traditional, I guess, thought processes, but that's just how I think of them, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because my main character is a princess and she does have long hair, but then she ends up having to go on the run when the villain ends up kidnapping her kingdom and her people, and she ends up having to go on the run. But she never cuts her hair.
Okay.
You have another character though who does have shorter hair. She did grow her hair out long once, but that's because she was in a coma and couldn't really cut it. But then she eventually cut her hair again because she didn't like it long.
There you go. And that is also another part of thing. If your character changes over time, maybe they become more rebellious or they don't want to be the same person that they've been. Cutting their hair is something that could signify that. You know what I mean? Like they're not that old person. Like they're literally cutting it away and changing.
Yeah. Jasmine kind of does something like that, but instead with hair with her clothes. Like since she was a princess, she always had to wear these fancy ball gown kind of things. But she kind of changed her style, and she's wearing like pants and a shirt with a specific design. Like she created this entire battle outfit with her powers, and it's completely different than her wardrobe back at the castle. But yeah, so I definitely feel that.
Yeah, you figure a militant type of character would have like combat boots on and like a utility belt, and everything they have would be very like resourceful as opposed to like wasted stuff that they wouldn't need if they're going to battle or something.
It would be kind of hard for Jasmine to fight in some of those ball gowns she has to wear.
Yeah. So I think all that kind of plays into it too.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want to try doing our next sprint at 7:20 and then go for another 20 minutes?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that gives us 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
I see questions like this on Twitter, and I figured I might ask you guys. Do you guys have like, is there any song that you ever hear that you just kind of think of your book or series or whatever because it kind of fits in there, and yet you didn't do it on purpose? Like a song that you just realize kind of goes with your story?
I'm gonna let Leanne answer this.
I have this song in my head for a story that I've yet to write because
what song is that?
The Boys Are Back in Town.
Oh yeah.
And it's just because when I picture that in my head, I picture like, I don't know why I picture this. I picture 3 brothers. One stayed in like the small town that they live in. The other 2, one was like a fuck up. The other one was like very successful. And they come back to the town because of something happens. Like in my mind, their father already passed away. Something happens with the mom. Either somebody's like something with finances or something like that. They're like coming after her for some reason. And like the brothers have to come back together to like help their mom and restore whatever the situation is. That's as far as I've gotten with that one. But yes, that song is like in my head for that. That's how I came up with that idea, but I don't know how far what's going to go with that.
That's awesome, and I love that.
How about you, Robin?
So for this current book, I do have a write-in soundtrack that I'll write to, and most of it is just like synth pop, because that is very sci-fi to me and easy to write to. So I don't really have any specific music for it, but like I do have like 2 different short stories. One I didn't finish writing that have been inspired entirely by a song, and the connections aren't super obvious, but they just listen to them, like Joharra, you were saying, just listening to those songs just like really reminds me of kind of the vibe I'm trying to go for in each story. So I have done that. I haven't had that for like a book though, not for this book at least. And I'm curious what song for your book, because obviously this is something you do. So,
well, this one song kind of reminds me of not my story itself, but my main character Jasmine, and that's a fight song from Rachel Platten, I think her name is. Because I just feel like Jasmine's been through a lot. She's like had a really hard past, and she even was tortured for like a year. So yeah, she's been through a lot. I put her through a lot, but she keeps coming back stronger and more powerful, and she keeps getting more and more determined to save the realm and stop Lilac. So I feel like that song kind of fits with her really well.
I'm actually very proud that I knew the song you were talking about, because I usually don't know any new stuff that's out. So, and that's probably probably not even new, but to me it is. So,
yeah, I'm not really all hip with the songs.
Me either. But I do remember there was a movie back in the day, maybe like '95. It was called Higher Learning, and each character had specific music that they would come into. So like Ice Cube was in it. So when his character came, there was like rap in it. There was a guy, Michael Rappaport, and he was kind of playing like a on the fence Nazi. So the music for him was like very aggressive. And shit, I can't think of the girl's name, but not Haley Duff. I can't remember her name. Anyway, her character was very like light alternative, flowy type of music. So like as the music would start and each scene would start, like you already knew like the vibe of where things were going with it, which I thought was like pretty powerful for what each character was going to do, or their mood, or like how the music would go. So I can see that. I can see how like even just having for yourself like music for each character, or just main characters or whatever, or just for doing certain scenes, like getting yourself into that can definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the questions I've answered within my own book is kind of like, what do my characters listen to? And though it's in the future and the bands they listen to don't yet exist, I kind of just like to know, like, this is the sort of vibe of each character, so.
Yeah, well, my book is like, there's a bunch of different realms, and they live in a different realm than ours, and it's kind of more back centuries and centuries ago, and so there's nothing modern, no cell phones, no radios, none of that. So questions like that I can't really answer because it's like it doesn't exist yet. This realm is a little bit behind.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I realize I do like, though, is when something's set in the future, but they're taking it back like that. I mean, you're saying just another realm, but then they take it back to like no technology type of thing.
Yeah.
Or I remember there was a book, I don't remember what it was called, but it like took place in like Palace of Versailles or whatever. So everything was very Victorian era or whatever, but it was like super modern. Like they had like the more updated cell phones than we have in technology than we have. So I think the author just really wanted to live in this Victorian era with all this like modern aspect to it. So
that's a really cool contrast.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then that was just really inside the palace. Like once you went outside, it was just kind of like, here we are, normal now time. So it was, I think that was supposed to be like the magic of being in the palace.
Yeah. It's cool.
We managed to go over our time.
I know, I was going to say, I'm going to shift it back to 7:25.
Yeah. Okay.
Make it kind of an even number. Not really even, but
Yeah. 45, that's not bad.
Cozy says she has to like the characters to be interested in a book. And yeah, I agree. There has to be at least one character I'm invested in. I think there's only this one trilogy I read. When I first started the book, I didn't like any of the characters. And I was like, if I don't end up liking at least one of these characters by the end of book one, then I'm not continuing the series. Luckily, because there's like 3 main characters, luckily 2 of the characters and I end up liking a lot by the end of the book. And I'm like, okay, you guys pass, I could move on. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I have to like the characters.
Especially for Roe, because Cozy Mysteries is, to me, it's you don't really care about the murder part of it. You more care about the like cute little town and the characters in the town. So that's what's holding your interest. And they're usually all series. So you have to kind of like live with those characters the whole time. So, they're never killing off the main character that owns the tea shop. That doesn't happen. So.
Yeah. What about you, Robin?
I don't know. I guess yes, if I really hate a character, I'm not going to continue with the book. But also, I don't usually find myself reading and being like, "Yeah, I love this character." Either I'm not like super attached to characters most of the time.
Mm.
Um, I feel like for me, it's mostly the writing. If the writing isn't there, if the writing is like annoying and stuff like that, that is usually what will get me to stop reading the book.
Yeah.
More so than the characters, because there's like characters I read that I'm like, this is a really questionable person. I don't think I would want to be friends with if I knew them in the real life. But yet, I really enjoy reading about them.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a solid answer for that.
Well, 6:25 now.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna do our next sprint for another 20 minutes. So
Perfect.
good luck, everyone.
Happy writing.
welcome back. How's your spring go?
Pretty good.
Mine too. I think I have finished a first scene.
Yay! That's awesome.
How are you, Robin?
Mine went okay. Mostly just fixed some stuff. I found an inconsistency I accidentally wrote, so that's why world building doc is very important to have.
Yeah. I kind of stopped at an interesting part.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll be writing after we're done here tonight too, or do you think?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's
I don't want to
awesome.
stop. I'm like on a flow here.
Yeah, you're really kicking butt on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I try to get it done in like a month, so kind of have to crack down on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna pressure myself either. Like if I don't get it done in a month, then I'll be like, okay, you know what? It's just kind of a little deadline for myself. But if I need an extension, I'll obviously give it to me. I'm not putting too much pressure on getting it done in a month because I still want it to turn out good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna ask if you give yourself deadlines, but that kind of answered it.
Well, it depends. Like in my second book, I don't think I gave myself a deadline. I was also busier at the time because that's also when I was doing all that overtime. So I didn't have much time to really work on my book either. So I figured, why give myself a deadline when I obviously would be able to make it? That would be kind of pointless.
Yeah, and then that just sets you up to be disappointed too. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of free time since I'm in between jobs. I will be starting a job soon, probably. So, but like I said, it'll only be like 7 to 3:30 if I do end up getting it. So I'll still have plenty of time to write after work and stuff.
What's the job that you applied for?
It's back at Herff Jones where I was working, but instead I won't be in the warehouse this time. It'll be at manufacturing where they actually make the caps and gowns.
Cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. How about you, Robin? How's your job hunting going?
I don't want to talk about it.
I feel that.
Yeah. Alright, let's see. So Cozy said, writing style and flow is what makes me really enjoy a book. If the writing doesn't flow, the book lags. So how important is it for you guys as readers? Does writing style impact your enjoyment of a book?
It's not one of the most important things to me because, like, everyone has a different writing style, you know, and I mean, I still like it can't be like terrible enough to get on my nerves or anything, but it's definitely not one of the most important things to me. Like, one of the most important things to me is like depths of characters and a good plot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like a flow. I don't like for it to drag on. So, I mean, I guess for that flow part, yeah. You know, you have to give a good pace.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm more like characters too and a plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots goes into making a book good. So
yeah. And that also is very subjective too, you know. Like I hear a lot of people always say like, "Oh, I love the author's like flowery words and I'm like, I hate that. Like, let's get to the point. I don't want 5 pages of a description. Like, then I find myself and I feel bad because I'm like, all right, let's just flip. Let's get to some dialogue here. You know, like where are we going with this? And I know that's mean because I know somebody put a lot of effort into that. And I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me, but it's just like if it goes on a lot, I don't like that type of writing, but other people do.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I like to put some details into my books, but I still don't have it like that long where it's like every little detail about every little thing. I just put enough detail so you can imagine it yourself about how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is part of it too. As a reader, you want to envision the world somebody else created, but you have it in your head the way you imagine it. There's nothing worse than picturing something and then it goes to like a movie or a TV show and you're like, nothing that I thought it was going to be, totally different than what you thought.
Yeah.
That's a disappointment, I always think anyway.
I mean, my pet peeve with like movie and TV adaptations is when it's like I don't mind so much if like they need to change it because it's not like realistic, but I hate it when it's like so lackluster when they make adaptations where they just like really take any of the personality that was in the book
Yes.
and just do like really just basic fantasy looking aesthetic or just like really basic modern day aesthetic where it's just like too conventional almost, and it just like doesn't have any sort of stylization to it. That's one of my pet peeves. Storm reads as I don't like pages and pages of description. Stephen King, I'm looking at you. I have huge beef with Stephen King, so I agree.
We have a guy at work that for everything he says, he has to give 3 adjectives to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and it's every time, like to the point where we just out loud make fun of him. He's one of the owners, and we just like make fun of him because it's just like, you're saying a lot, but you've said nothing, That's how I feel a lot of that can get.
Yeah. My mom gets annoyed. My mom gets annoyed when, sometimes because I talk fast for one whenever I get really excited, but I also, it's like, it could take me a few minutes to tell a few second story because I tend to want to explain everything, every path, and I'm like, when I talk, you can definitely sense the writer in me. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I do that a lot, and then it's like, and then I go off on a side story, and I'm like, wait, what was I even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel that so much.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually read a Stephen King book, though. I've seen the original It movie, but that's about it.
Which one did we read? I read 2 of them. It was like in a like it was 3 stories in one. One of them was, I believe, it was called The Body, and that's what Stand By Me was.
Mm-hmm.
And another one that I can't think of. They also made a movie about it. I don't remember. Maybe Storm will know. I'm trying to think. I've got to look it up now. Damn it. I didn't want to do that. Sorry, you guys could still talk. I'll find it.
I'm really excited because there's this like one really big twist. I'm going to put it at near the end of my book. And no spoilers, but I'm like really excited to really throw that in there, but it's going to be a little bit.
That's fun, though.
Yeah, I loved a good twist.
It was Apt Pupil. That was the other book. Yeah.
Gotcha.
How do you guys feel about twists?
I like twists when they work. I don't like twists that come out of left field and don't make any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
And don't add anything to the story. That it's just, we put this in here solely to surprise and shock the audience, but it's confusing. It doesn't make any sense narrative-wise, and like that, huge pet peeve of mine. But I love a twist that I, like not so much like don't see coming, but like my favorite twist I remember reading is when I was reading, I think it's American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I get that and Good Omens confused. I think it's American Gods. And so when I got to the twist, I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I realize this sooner? Everything makes sense that has happened so far in this book. And like, it was just like this awesome moment of realization when it was finally revealed. I'm just like, I was just going along with this the entire time, and now I get everything. Like, that is the perfect twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The twist I'm planning definitely has a point in the story, and it will make sense once you get there. And I'm just really excited to throw it in there.
Yeah, I did a twist in a short story that it sucks. It's only a good twist to me because I need to rewrite how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
like it would be better if it was like a visual, because then you'd be like, oh, but I'm still trying to work that out in like the short story part of it. So it will be good if I can think of how to make it happen. I'm sorry, what?
That's what second and third drafts are for. I believe you can make it work.
Yeah.
Storm says she likes them if they're done right, and I think that can go with just about anything. Like anything can be good if it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, even with like breaking writing rules, if you break a writing rule and you really make it work, like that's always awesome. But it's not always doable.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know. I haven't yet to find a love triangle that was done right, in my opinion. I cannot stand love triangles, and I've never read one that I actually liked.
I read, and I wonder if he's still in the audience right now, Gideon Marcus's Keetra Saga. He has kind of a love triangle going on, and the reason why I really like the way he does it is that there is no competition between the two love interests. You know, like Keetra has like chemistry with Marta, her ex-girlfriend, and she has chemistry with Fareed, this new guy she's just meeting. And they both have like their things going on, and there's not that like gross competitiveness that you always see in love triangles between the two love interests. Like it just coexists and it works so well. And so because of that, I was like, wow, I actually really like this. Like for once I'm reading this and I actually like both relationships. I feel like most of the time when I'm reading a love triangle, I don't like either of the relationships. And I'm like, okay, I don't even want to choose because both of these suck. So yeah, that's just one of the rare exceptions.
I guess if there was one love triangle that wasn't completely terrible, I'd say it was the Legend of Korra one. And it's funny because I don't like Mako with either one of them, especially since I like Korra and Asami together. But the reason why it wasn't completely terrible is because Korra and Asami didn't hate each other. They still became close friends despite the fact that they both had feelings for Mako. And I just love that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That really is what made it work, that it kind of subverted that expectation. Like Storm says, my problem is I always like the man she doesn't pick and then that's a man.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like love triangle books need to be like a choose your own adventure, and then you can just like flip to the portion of the book where like the main character ends up with the love interest that you want.
Yeah,
so everyone's happy.
Well, one of the things I particularly don't like about love triangles is when it's your ex that you haven't seen for years, it now just happens to show back up in the picture. Why does that mean that person gets a shot again? Obviously, they were an ex. You've been separated. So if there was somebody else, the person number 2 is in the picture. Why does the ex get a shot or automatically get put back on the board when just because they showed up? Like what? Why does that happen? Like I don't get that.
Yeah. Right. I also feel like a lot of love triangles have it where it's like most love triangles, at least in my experience, 2 guys and a girl instead of 2 girls and a guy. And it's like the girl always has to choose between the bad boy and the good guy. They always choose the bad boy, which annoys me. Yes, a lot of girls can like the bad boy thing, but that's actually a problematic trait in real life. I see it happen all the time. And it's like, why can't anyone choose the good guy? So what if they're a little nerdy or geeky? Is that really a bad thing? So what if they're sensitive? At least they'll treat you right and you'll never get hurt because they'll care, Mm-hmm. And it's just really annoying. Like, I don't know if either of you ever seen The Vampire Diaries, but it happens out there too.
That's the one I thought of when you were talking about that.
I hate David. I hate him with a fiery passion. I'm like the only fan that hates David, but I hate him. And yeah, I prefer Stefan with Caroline, but it still annoyed me that Lena chose David over Stefan when he's the better choice.
Right.
See, where I didn't like either Damon or Stefan, so
I like Stefan.
Yeah, I didn't like anyone in that series, no offense.
I actually liked what's his name from the originals that I can now not think of his name.
Klaus?
No, I did not like Klaus. I liked his brother.
Oh, Elijah.
That's it. Yeah.
I like Rebecca.
I liked Rebecca.
Huh?
I liked Rebecca.
Yeah. My favorite character is Caroline. And I love her.
I like Caroline. Why can I not think of the other chick's name?
Bonnie?
I couldn't stand Bonnie either.
Oh, really? I think that's a very unpopular opinion.
Is it really?
Yes, a lot of people love Bonnie.
Oh, no, I can't stand Bonnie. No, but the
I
other
don't like
one.
Elena.
Elena, that's who I'm thinking of. I can't stand Elena, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like her. And I feel like I'm probably wrong, but I just feel like I'm the only fan that hates David. Like, everyone's in love with David, and here I am hating him.
I feel like we were supposed to love Damon because he's the bad boy. It was compared to both of them. It was so obvious he was. So we were just supposed to like him for that.
And one of the reasons why I'm annoyed with most of the characters on the Vampire Diaries is because I feel like everyone treats Caroline like crap most of the time. I get it, she's not perfect. She's made mistakes, especially in the beginning. But like with Elena, and she got really mad at Caroline when she couldn't accept Elena with Damon. But it's like everyone forgot what Damon did to Caroline in the beginning, and no one talks about it. And then everyone gets mad at Caroline for having feelings for Klaus for what he did to Elena. But like, what about what David to Caroline? That's just supposed to be okay?
There was actually something I liked about Caroline and Klaus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it wasn't like a romantic type of thing or even a sexual type of thing, it was just like they were both almost like the lone black sheep of their situation.
Yeah.
So they kind of had like a respect for each other there that I appreciated that.
Yeah. And I feel like Klaus is better for Caroline than Tyler because Klaus had actually given up his need for revenge a couple times for Caroline, but Tyler couldn't do that for Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like Caroline with Klaus, but I prefer her with Stefan.
Okay.
I love the whole best friends to lovers thing they had going on. And I love it because it was such a slow burn, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that you didn't see it coming, but yes, it was a slow.
Yeah.
I was also a big fan of, and I don't know if these are popular or not, I was a big fan of Marcel as well. In the originals. Yeah.
I haven't actually watched the originals yet, but I plan to because I want to get to Legacies, which looks really good.
When you get to it, then we'll talk. Because
okay.
I was a huge fan, and then I wasn't. So.
Oh.
Yeah. But so much happens between then and now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea how we got to the Vampire Diaries. We just got to a full
triangles. Yeah, exactly.
Love triangles. So my question for you guys is, what makes a character likable?
I think it depends on the character. Like, all the characters are different, and it's like there's several characters I like because they're just so good and kind. There's other characters that are a little bit more sarcastic, but not necessarily mean or anything, just a little bit more snippy that I also love. And I guess it just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think I kind of like the characters where maybe they are more the black sheep or they've done a few things wrong, but then they like redeem themselves. Mm-hmm. And even if everybody else in the group doesn't want to see it, like you see it and you're like, okay, I like them, you know? I do like that like redemption type of character.
True. How about you, Robin?
Definitely agree with like Leanne said. I like the black sheep characters usually, and like the more complex a person is, I think that is usually what makes me like them because they're more interesting. I think, you know.
True. I feel like I like the characters that are a little bit more on the goody side, but they're still like flawed enough. You know, they're not perfect, but like I just feel like everyone's always hating on them because they're good, they're smart, they're kind, and I'm like, isn't that what you're supposed to be? Why do you hate people that have these traits that you're supposed to have? Like I saw someone say once about some Disney Channel show how everyone always ends up making fun of the nerd characters that are really smart, really good at school. Like they're always making fun of Cody from Sweet Life or what's her name from Shake It Up, Rocky. And it's like, why are you making fun of the characters who cares about school and who's smart and kind and good when that's the kind of person you want to be or want to be with, you know? That's just my issue with that whole thing.
I think I always like a character that, like if I have to think about it, I would say maybe like X-Men, like Magneto and Xavier, like they both have the same, they're fighting for the same cause, but because of things that happen in their past that you might not know about right away, one's looked at as good, one's looked at as evil. But it's like, well, when you kind of like look at their backstory and you see how they got to it, it's like they're kind of fighting for the same thing. They just maybe go about it in a different way.
Mhm.
And then I like that, like, but you wouldn't know it until you find out their backstory type of thing.
Right.
That a backstory can definitely change my opinion about a character, make or break type of thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was just thinking, kind of piggybacking off of both of your ideas for like when it comes to like really kind, sweet characters, my favorite is when that is like juxtaposed with them having been through a really horrific like past and still choosing to be kind and like that's my favorite type of character is like, you know, like some bad stuff has happened to me, but I still choose to be a good person and I still choose to believe in the best in people. And like, dude, yeah, that's like my favorite kind of like very kind character.
That's that's like Jasmine from my story.
Yeah, that's always the character I want to root for, you know. Storm
Yeah,
notes that the school thing is why a lot of kids hide that they are smart so they don't get made fun of. We could really dive into school and like the social circumstances of school, but yeah, that is a kind of unfortunate social thing right now. And I feel like even now, like, I don't know how to word it exactly, but I feel like selfishness is almost rewarded more in our society, and you know, power is more rewarded than kindness and compassion. So I think that is more than just school. It's a reflection on people.
Yeah.
I was never really super smart at school. You know, I struggled a lot, and I was in a lot of those like intense classes for people who need special help. And because I needed a lot of help, they put me in special classes for all my classes, even English class, even though that was the one class I did good at. So all the people that was always in my English classes always hated reading and writing and anything like that, because those were the people that, not that they weren't smart, that they just didn't care, you know? And then I did care. I just struggled a lot. And I would be the only one in that class that read, like when everyone would be, like when we were told to write like a paragraph or something, I end up writing like 2 pages. And I was like the only one in my English classes like that. Like I would seriously be reading a book in the hallway on my way to classes, and people will be like, "How do you do that?"
It's funny you said that, because we had, this is a true story, in our 6th grade in our 6th grade class that I was in, we had probably 75 students in our 6th grade class. Our English teacher made us, over the weekend, you had to write a 2-page paper. There was always a topic. You had to write a 2-page paper. You came in on Monday, showed her that you did it, and then that night you had to go back and do an edit on it and bring it back on Tuesday with both copies. Like, so you had your corrections and you had that other one. Because everybody failed that class because they would not do that assignment for the whole year, we went into 7th grade with 30 kids in our class, because half the class stayed back just because, only for failing English and just because they wouldn't do the paper, which was literally, you could just go home, change 2 words on the paper and just write it and hand it back in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So half of our class stayed back just because of that, just for not wanting to write that paper every week.
That's insane.
When we were in 10th grade, that teacher passed away. And I was in 10th grade. My sister, who's behind me, had all of those kids in the class in 9th grade. And the 9th and 10th grade classes applauded that this lady died. Yeah.
Okay, that's really mean.
First of all, it was like so long ago. Like, I was just like, I was like, who? What teacher? Like, I didn't even remember who it was till like they said it. I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, applauding, like having a party about it.
That's messed up. It's one thing to not like a teacher or not like a certain assignment from the teacher, but that's just bogus.
Right. I was just like, come on. Yeah. But That's how much they did. They were willing to stay back over like writing a paper.
Wow. I mean, my English, like my 12th grade English teacher would always have a topic, and we would always have to write a paragraph or two. Like I said, I ended up writing 2 pages full of that one topic, and I was the only one that would do that. And yeah, so
Yeah, it wasn't like it was like do a research paper. It was like, what did you do over the weekend or something like that type of thing.
yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard.
No. Like, and I mean, it was always related to something like that you could easily write, like you said, 2 pages about, no problem.
Yeah.
And then I would like literally go with my red pen and cross out a couple words and then like rewrite it and hand it in. It was like the simplest thing, but.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was that.
Yeah. Well, school's hard. I had trouble with school.
No, I agree with you. School's not my thing, so.
English class I was good at. It also helped since I was in intense classes for all my other classes. They just automatically did that for English class too.
Mhm.
So it made that extra easy because I was already good at English, and I was put a little bit further down on the scale. So that made it just that much more easier for me. But hey, easy A. Since I struggled with all my other classes, I needed an easy A.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I was very good in school and all my subjects, but because of that I was very bored, which meant I got in trouble doing other things, and because of,
I always got annoyed with my sister. She's a year younger than me, but she is smart. Like, she got straight A's. Like, seriously, she got a C once and cried. And then I got mad at her when she did, because I was like, you got a C and cried. That was back in elementary school, I think. And back then I was doing a lot worse than I was in middle school and high school. So I was getting like D's and F's. And I was like, you got a C. It's like whenever I get a C, I jump for joy because it means I didn't get a D or F. And then she got a C. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I guess I get it because she wasn't used to it. But still, that annoyed me. I was like, you always get perfect grades. Just, duh.
That was me, and because it came very easy to me, I didn't really know how to study or apply myself to something. I still don't. I'm great at finding a way around it, but not just doing the hard work and going through it. And that's what my sister excels at. Like, okay, I've made my study plan. I know I have to work hard and get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what my mom always says. She says, because I struggle a lot more, that I appreciate the things that I have earned more. And it also means I am more willing to work harder to achieve things because I've had to work hard my entire life. So it's nothing new for me. Fantasia, on the other hand, because everything always came easy to her, she never applies herself, and she things just come easy for her, so she doesn't work as hard, and so she doesn't appreciate things as much as I do.
That's me. Yeah. Yeah. And now it's hard because when things are hard, I'm like, I don't know how to apply myself. I don't know how to figure. I'm good at finding a way around it. Like, even in my last year of college, my last semester of college, I had to take this one class that I didn't want to take, and I had to take that to graduate. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, within 24 hours, I went and I changed my major. I got my advisor to accept my major. I got one of my old teachers to let me do a made-up online class that I knew I would get an A for, just so I could just graduate on my own terms without having to like do the work and put the work in, because I didn't want to do that. The irony was, it was a video editing class that I could have just taken, right, and just not struggled in my 40s figuring out iMovie, but
Oh gosh, iMovie is a pain, to be honest. I try to avoid using iMovie. It's called Film Forth. It's a free program I downloaded, and it's okay. Sometimes it gives me trouble, but it's pretty straightforward at least.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, I have trouble with all the whole video editing and stuff. Technology is not my thing. I went to a whole rant to my mom, I think a couple weeks ago, where I said that the school system is biased because when I was younger, okay, like I said, I was in all these intense classes because I needed special help with most things, and they put me in speech therapy too. And I even had this whole tutoring thing after school a couple days a week, because I needed all the extra help I could get. But speech therapy was never one of my issues I really had to focus on because I never really had much trouble with my speech. Fantasia, on the other hand, did. She had trouble with her speech and stuff. And my mom kept telling the principal, the teachers that I'm pretty good with speech. Fantasia's not. And they're like, oh no, that's not the way we hear it. But I might be a conspiracy theorist or something. I'm not usually, but at this point I might be because I'm pretty sure the only reason why they did that is because I was already in intense classes. She was in smart classes. So they were like, nah, let's keep her in the smart, high above classes. Let's keep her in the down below classes. I was like, that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's just my theory, though. I swear they're biased.
I feel like a lot of the kids that were in those classes when I went to school, it's not that they were not smart. It's that maybe they were just what would now be like ADHD, or maybe they were bored in class because they were smart kids, or maybe they were like bad and had gotten into a fight or something like that. And they just like automatically, that was the answer, was just like throw them all into that, like that round of classes, group of kids that were going through those like remedial classes or whatever. And it was just like, oh, but some of them are super smart.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember one of the kids, like in elementary school that was in those classes, when we were in high school, he was like taking calculus in like 9th grade. And I'm like, okay, how was he in those classes back then? But he's a genius.
Right.
But it was that his dad had killed himself when he was very young. His mother was an alcoholic. So he just didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And instead of them focusing on that, like they just like threw everybody in those classes. And then you get labeled with this for like the whole time you go on. You know?
Definitely. It's just, I don't know, like, it's just hard, you know, like some people do struggle, but I struggled. And, you know, like Fantasia, she just graduated with her bachelor's because she took, and she's younger than me. She's only 20, and she already graduated college for her bachelor's. She's going back for her master's, but she took college classes in high school. I'm like, how? I never even ended up going to college because I'm like, school's too hard. And besides, I ended up publishing my first book when I was 20. I was like, that's all I've ever wanted, so why do I need to go to college for that now?
Well, that's, everybody has their own path, and that's what you did. And you know, same age as she's getting her bachelor's degree, you're publishing a book.
True.
You know?
And like any of like the people I know who have published books, no one has an English degree. Like they either have a college degree in something else or they didn't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like going to college to learn how to write a book is kind of counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you really need to write a book and get it published.
No.
I don't think so. I think it can kind of kill your passion too.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I really feel you need to go to college for is like a doctor or a lawyer, engineer, like those type of things where.
Fantasia's trying to be a social worker.
Okay.
Good for her.
That's what Tiffany does, Beach Bum Bookworm. She's a social worker.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Does she know what she wants to do? Like work with any particular group of kids or just?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even sure if she's sure yet.
Might be something where you have to like go in the field and then like you figure it out from there, like what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's like one of those like maybe you just get thrown into the first job they give you and then you figure it out from there.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I don't either. My dream is to finally be able to live off just my books and my YouTube, if that ever soars. But we'll see if that ever happens.
Do you, I mean, I don't know, you don't have to say, but like, do you make money off of your books right now or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get a, like whenever someone buys my books, I get a pretty good rate from the percentage. So that's good.
Okay.
And since I self-publish, I can always check like I'm pretty sure the money comes into my account the first of every month, so it'll just kind of add up on there until the first, and then it'll go back to zero because then they put the money into my account.
Okay.
And so I can just go to KDP and look and see how much money I have so far. That's gonna be this month. So far, I have about I think $10, which isn't really that much to a lot of people, but it's a lot to me since I'm still pretty new at this.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So making anything to me would be a lot off of it.
Yeah,
so
true.
Mhm.
Anything.
Especially, yeah, because you're self-publishing. Like that's all on you to promote your
Yeah.
book. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
But I
you've
have some
worked for
new
that.
tactics I want to do. Like I want to get a couple of my buy a couple of my books. You can like on the KDP you can buy author copies, which I think are pretty much just the same, except they're a lot cheaper. So you pay almost nothing to get your own book, which makes sense.
Mhm.
And I want to get a few copies so I can put them in local libraries around here. So if people can read them, like them, and then potentially buy them themselves,
Okay.
you know, kind of spread the word a little bit that way.
That's a
Absolutely.
really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're publishing your third book. That's something that you should feel really proud about. Like, who cares what classes you were in school? Like, you're living your dream. You're doing what you want to do.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's true.
I still like in awe that I actually am a published author. Like I still can't believe it.
No, that's awesome. Awesome.
I know Robin said she's gonna go traditionally published. Have you figured out if you want to do self or traditional?
I'm still leaning towards traditional. Yeah.
Huh?
I'm not like anywhere near being able to query yet, so that's why I'm like a little because I got a while to go. But yeah, anyway, Lee, what do you think?
I have no idea. I'm like so not even thinking that far ahead of anything yet. I have no idea.
At what point in your writing your book, Joharra, did you kind of decide how you wanted to publish your book? Or did you know before you started writing?
Well, when I first started writing, I didn't even consider self-publishing, you know, because that was actually before I even joined Twitter. I haven't actually been on Twitter that long. So on Twitter, you see a lot more about indie publishers and stuff. And so I didn't even think of that as an option when I first started writing the first Jasmine Perez book. But then it was actually my sister's boyfriend who suggested it, and I started looking into it. I was like, you know what? I actually think I kind of like that idea. And by that time, I was like almost done with the book, I think, or getting there. And I was like, I kind of like this idea. So I decided to give it a try, and now I'm a self-published author.
Nice.
Storm asked Lee, what type of book are you writing?
There are so many aspects to it. So basically, like 100 years in the future, the United States is broken off into two different spots. The spot that we would live in now is divided into 7 sections, and each one is like very categorized to like different settings and stuff I like. Like one is very like traditional, how very conservative. Another part is very Wild West type-ish. Another one is very like pirates. Another one is very like Southern plantations, but it's not slavery. It's just like they focus on like agriculture of the plantations, and like there's going to be like feuding among the plantations with each other for like maybe getting customers and stuff like that. And where I am, like the Northeast, that's going to be very like shady, I guess is like the best word to describe it. Like all of Delaware is a prison. Like that's where everybody sends their prisoners. And there's a lot of like secret society type of thing, like, you know, still like the Ivy League school thing up here. And then that's all culminating into a bigger story that will take people out west. So lots of different things going on. I don't know where I'm going with it.
Storm says that sounds cool.
I hope
I agree.
I have a few little short stories written for each section. that I haven't even looked at in forever that I swear I'm going to send to Robin, but I just haven't yet. So.
Anytime you're ready. Is that how you think you're going to tell the whole story, is through short stories, or are you planning on actually changing it into a fluid book?
I don't know if all the short stories will become the bigger book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, it wouldn't be a collection of, it would just be like, that's how the stories, like, maybe would be like 2 chapters would be each short story or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's how I have it in my head, so I don't know.
Nice. Are you gonna do any more sprints tonight?
I am probably gonna log off at 8:30. I don't know if you guys can keep going with me gone.
Well, I was going to get ready to actually eat too, because my husband
Okay.
ordered the food, and
So
he's like,
maybe,
"Are we going?"
yeah, maybe that's a good time to wrap this up then.
I feel like, Joharra, you're just going to be like banging out more pages when we get off. So.
Literally, I'm gonna like check on her in an hour, and she's gonna be like, "Guys, I finished my book!" Like,
Okay, it's not gonna be that much, but I'm hoping to at least get a few more chapters done by tonight.
that would be awesome. And yeah, I wish
She's like, I know I said a month, but you guys inspired me, and I got it done tonight. And it's like, okay.
I wish.
Storm's
Yeah, I'll
wants to
definitely.
write a cozy. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're fine. I'll definitely talk to you guys in the chat and tell you how far I got to my book. Be like, yeah, I finished it. I'm gonna publish it tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm just expecting from you.
I'm not that good.
And I'm like, I've got a scene written. Robin's like, I finally broke through my like barrier of editing here. You know.
I hope so.
I was saying Storm says she wants to write a cozies, but she's not sure if it would be any good.
I think you should rate it anyway, Storm, even if it's not
definitely.
good. I highly doubt it's as bad as you think it would be, but also
all
just
writers
write
go
in.
through that at one point or another. Be like, this is bad. This is terrible.
She's
But
already written stuff too that she like had published too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Come on, Storm. You can do it. Next
We believe in
session,
you.
You gotta write something with us, Storm.
And she reads so many cozies and plus other books. She could definitely do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from what I know about cozies, because I didn't even know what cozies were until I met Tiffany. But from what I know about them now, it seems like it's you need to just start out with like the mystery and the characters, you know, and then just go on from there. And I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah, like once you create your town and your setting and what your main business is going to be, then it's literally that's developing your characters and then you're just putting in the mystery. I can never figure out the mystery, so I would be bad at that part. I never, even after they like spell it out for me, I'm like, oh, I really didn't even see that coming. But that's because I read cozies because I like the town and the people and the setting. Other books I read for the other parts of it. But for the cozies, I want that cozy aspect of like, oh, I'm back in, Perfect Town, USA, and we're at the bookstore, and, like, I like that for cozies. Like, I want all my messed up stuff in my other books, so,
She says, I'm working on some notes, like how they get murdered, who might do it, the type of town, etc. Yeah, that sounds like all the components of a cozy to me, so.
Yeah.
Just gotta do it.
Next time you have to write while we're writing.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens.
Best way to get productive.
Right.
If you come in here, I would have never even finished this like little part. It's like coming here was like the motivation of like, all right, I got to get this done. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's almost 8:30. So does anyone have anything coming up on their channels they want to talk about before we sign off?
I don't have that much specific things. I have like a bunch of videos on my phone that I plan on doing eventually. I don't know which ones I want to do first, but I am working on my first reading vlog of Shadow and Bone. And I do want to do another writing vlog because I haven't done one of those in quite a while, and I want to do another one of those. but nothing that specific. I can't speak.
I have coming up in 2 weeks with Tiffany, Beach Bum Bookworm Tiffany, and a bunch of girls in the Killing Time with Cozies came up with it, but we're going to be doing for August Wonkathon, which is going to be like a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory themed book reading. So there's like a bunch of, and it's like a bunch of prompts in any genre you want to do, but there's going to be like different prompts that you can read throughout the whole month to kind of get this like tic-tac-toe or bingo board kind of thing, just for fun. So we have that coming up. So
That sounds cool.
yeah.
How are you, Robin?
All I have really coming up is I'm trying to finish editing my mid-year freakout tag video. Oh, and I still want to make, videos talking about writing in the future. So if anyone has any topics they want to hear me cover, hit it up in my YouTube comments or on Twitter. So.
Yeah, I definitely want to do some more of those like writing updates I was doing, where I kind of update how I'm doing on my writing process.
Yeah, and it seems
You
like
guys should both do that. You
audience
should do
for it.
editing. You should do the writing part and like how you're finishing, how you're breaking through, your block right now. I think people, especially other writers, would be interested in those type of things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
maybe
video's just
you
gonna
can
be
do
me crying, like, I can't get through this prank.
Hey, at least people know it's not just them.
Yeah, maybe you could do that too, Lee. Like you're still figuring things out, and it could show that part of the process too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was even like I was just saying, like as we were on the sprint, I was saying to my husband, oh, I wanted to think of a name of like, I knew this thing took place in Spain. I'm like, oh, but what port? Well, now I have to stop my writing and I have to look up ports in Spain. Now I've got to look on a map, see which one I want. Oh, I don't like that one. And it's like, is that part of it? Or I feel like I wasted time at the same time,
It's part of it.
Yeah. Which is also a waste of time, but yeah, it's part of that. Yeah, I get it. But I'm like, I wasted like my whole 20 minutes just looking up that stupid thing.
There's a lot of writing that isn't writing.
Right.
That is just stuff like that, so.
I feel like non-writers a lot of times feel like, oh, writing's so easy, and then other writers are just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Writing is so not easy.
Yeah, anyone who
It's a lot
tries
more
to
hard
tell
work
me.
than people think. Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, anyone who tries to tell me that they can like do writing and publish a book, I just am like, well then do it. If it's so easy, do it.
Like you're whipping them out. Go ahead, show me.
Yeah, like we'll see what you think then once you try it.
Mm-hmm.
Storm said listening to you talk helps me get inspired.
And that's the whole point of these, so I'm glad it's working. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you write with us next time, Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. You girls ready to wrap up?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I'm getting hungry, so I'm like, all right, I want to go eat.
Yeah, you should eat.
Yeah, I need to eat too.
Joharra needs to eat, and then she needs to finish her book.
She's finishing her book, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's good seeing everyone.
It was good seeing you guys, and this was fun. Thank you so much.
Yes, can't wait for the next one.
Yes. All right.
Who's supposed to be next time?
Yes.
I don't know. We gotta talk in the chat about it because I don't remember the order anymore.
I came in after you guys already had an order, so I messed up the order too. So I don't know.
It definitely got a little goof too, I think. So I think it's either you, Joharra, or Jessica, I think, because I think that's who we started with. But yeah, we'll talk about it in the chat.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll see
Have
you
a good
guys.
night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.